Shalom Aleichem. This week's Parashat is Parashat Shelach. In this week's Parashat, we have a good amount of topics. This topic, first of all, happens right after this Parashat happens right after Parashat Ba'alotcha. What happened in that last part of Parashat Ba'alotcha? Ba'alotcha, go back, and it speaks about the case of Miriam speaking lashon hara against Moshe. Now, even such a big tzaddiket like Miriam was able to do such an avera as lashon hara, meaning that even if she was so big, you still have to be careful on doing lashon hara. And I heard from Rabbi Bach explained that we see that whenever it says, I believe he said this in the name of the Rambam, that says, why does it say right after this whole entire thing that Moshe was the most humblest person that ever lived, that ever will live? Why does it have to say that? Showing that even Moshe, he was so humble that he didn't even take this to heart. He understood. He says, yeah, okay, fine, it's true. It's nothing to take to heart. So the Rambam says this shows that even if the person doesn't even feel, doesn't actually mind, you might think that the person doesn't mind if I say lashon hara about him. Even then, it's still a sort to say lashon hara. So Miriam got sarat, Moshe prayed for her, and she was healed, but they still had to do quarantine for 7 days. And we have a daily mitzvah to remember the Maaseh Miriam, the what Miriam did, that she spoke lashon hara. This comes to teach us every single day to be careful, don't speak lashon hara. So right after, in this week's parsha, we have Parashat Shelach. And Parashat Shelach, automatically the main theme from this parsha is that Moshe sent 12 spies to spy out the land. But they come back, and what do? They don't just say what has to be said. They start adding, say, lashon hara about the land. They didn't learn from what just happened. They didn't understand to remember the Maaseh Miriam. That even though they were anashim, it says in the pasuk, Shlach lecha anashim, they were anashim, they were gedolei ador. They were very big Torah giants at that time. But still, they still were nichshal in this avera of lashon hara. He goes to say that, first of all, we see that it says Shlach lecha anashim, so we have to know that automatically these are not just random people. These were very, very big people. They were anashim. Whenever it says anashim, it means something of status, people of status. So they asked Moshe, they said, let us send people to search up the land. And Moshe said it was good in his eyes, and it was good in Moshe's eyes. And he gives them a whole entire list of what to check in the land. He said, go over there in the south and climb the mountain. See the land, how is it? And the people that dwells in it, is it strong or weak? Is it few or numerous? And how is the land which it dwells? Is it good or bad? And how are the cities? Meaning, saying you're going to go over there. Okay, figure out something. How is the city? How is is it rich? Is it good, bad? What's the situation over there? How are the people? How are the cities in which it dwells? Are they open or are they fortified? Meaning, we have to know how to make a plan of how to conquer it. And how is the land? Is it fertile or is it lean? Is there actually the land? Is it good to grow stuff? Are there trees in it or not? You shall strengthen yourself and take from the fruit of the land, and the days were the season of the first ripe grapes. So we'll go into something over here right away in this pasuk, this last pasuk that I just read in 13:20, it speaks about Moshe asks, how was the land? Is it fertile land? Can you grow trees over there? Can you have fruits and vegetables over there? Is it a good land to cultivate? So in the next question, it says, are there trees or there are not? First of all, what does it make a difference if there's a tree or not? If there's a tree, there's no trees, plant trees. If there's trees, okay. If there's, why are you asking if there are trees if you already know if it's fertile or if it's good land? To see if it's actually good land. In the Hebrew, it says, "Hayesh ba'etz im ein v'itchazaktem ulkachtem mipre haaretz v'ayamim yemei bikurei anavim." So it says, if there's a tree. First of all, in Hebrew, it says, "Hayesh ba'etz." Is there a tree? In the Hebrew, it doesn't necessarily say trees. It says tree. The question is, why are you asking if there's a tree? It sounds like you're specifying one tree. So Rashi says, see if there's someone over there that's a tzaddik that's going to be a guardian for the land. Meaning that if you have, it shows how strong the protection is for a tzaddik of the land. If there's a tzaddik that does everything, does the mitzvot, is mamash a tzaddik in the eyes of God, he can actually protect his whole surroundings. So he's saying, check if there's someone over there that is going to protect the land, that it's going to make us, not possible. Maybe we have to wait until after he dies to be able to take the land. So he says, check if he's there. The Chachamim, in Masechet Baba Batra 15a, it asks, and it says, who is this? What is this tree? Why does it say tree? So it says, this is Eov. Why? Because it says over there's a man that lives in the land of Uts. Same Uts, so there's Etz. So Eov is the tzaddik. And if anybody read the book of Eov, you're going to see that he had a very difficult time. He was very, very difficult, but yet he was a tzaddik. In the end, he proved to be a tzaddik. He says, "Hashem natan, Hashem lakach, Hashem mevorach." So Hashem gave me my whatever I have, my wealth, my kids, every single thing that I have, even my health and my wealth, everything Hashem gave me. If he wants, he can take it back. He can make me unhealthy. He can take away my kids. He can take away my money. He can take away everything. It's his. It's perfectly his thing to take, to give and to take. So he says, check if there is the etz over there. If there's the etz, if there's the Eov over there, then okay, we have to figure out what to do. But if there's not, okay, then it's ready for the taking. It's not going to be. They're not going to have a tzaddik to protect the land, to protect the people over there. But what does he say right after? He says, im ein v'itchazaktem. Now, what does it mean? What if there is? It says, check if there's a tree or not. V'itchazaktem, and you should be strong. I heard this one very nice chidush from Rav Yaron Ruven that says, if he's not there, good, we could go get it, the thing, there's not going to be any protection. But if he's there, okay, fine. But while he's there, don't just, okay, he's there, okay, goodbye. V'itchazaktem, get some chizuk from him. Why? Because he went through suffering. He went through a life of pain. He knows what suffering is. So go over to him, get chizuk from him, get from words of chizuk, how to live a life of suffering, how to get through the day. Whenever the day is hard, you're stressed, you have a lot of problems in your mind. He knows how, he went through it. Ask him for advice. Get some chizuk from him. So we also see this another thing. How do we know that in the end Eov, or the protection wasn't there? We go forward a little bit. To whenever the Miraglim are already giving what they saw. They're already giving their report. And Yoshua is screaming, no, don't listen to them. We could take it. We could do it. Hashem is with us. What does it say? their protection has departed from them. This is in 14:9, chapter 14, verse 9. It says, their protection has departed from them. Hashem is with us. Do not fear them. Whenever we go to the land, no, Hashem is going to be with us. They don't have any protection. The protection is gone. Saying that, Eov died. Eov was not there anymore. That's another thing we could see with Eov. So, there is a small little thing that I actually heard, very, very good chidush. I heard from Rabbi Simi again in his shiur. That he explains. He says, I want to ask you a question. To send miraglim, to send spies, it's a mitzvah, avera, or whatever, you could do it if you want. It's not a mitzvah, it's not an avera. What is it? But we can see over here. Hashem says to Moshe, send forth men, send people. So we can see it's a mitzvah. It's a mitzvah. But the question is it a mitzvah, avera? So, this we could say, what about tefillin? Is tefillin a mitzvah or an avera? Obviously, tefillin is a mitzvah. But the question is, it's not necessarily mitzvah right away. The thing is, it matters when. It matters when you do it. If you do it at a certain time, it's mitzvah. You do it at a different time, it's avera. If you put tefillin throughout the week, mitzvah. You put it on Shabbat, it's avera. You're gonna get gehinom for it. It's not just, it's not good. You know, you don't get a mitzvah. It's like if you put tzitzit on just a regular T-shirt. There's no mitzvah of tzitzit over there. You know, it's not there. But if you put tefillin on Shabbat, it's an avera. Why? It's muktzah. You can't have muktzah on Shabbat. So you're actually going to get punished for it. What do you mean? Tefillin, huge mitzvah. Not now. So this mitzvah to send spies, it's a very big mitzvah. And as we could see that even in the haftarah, this is actually the haftarah, that Yoshua bin Nun sent the spies, send Kalev and Pinchas to check the land. This is in Yehoshua chapter 2, 1 through 24. He sent them, and they went to Rachav, and Rachav says, since I saved you, please save me. So we see that they went and they were successful. They were big tzaddikim. They came back, they said what had to be said, and everything was correct. So the question is, why did the Meraglim get punished over here? In the end, what did Moshe tell them? He says, go check the land. Check if there's this, that, whatever. Check if the land is good. Check the people over there. All these type of things. But what they come back and say? They come back and say like this. He said, it flows with milk and honey. Meaning, whatever Hashem says is true. And this is its fruit. They brought back huge fruit. That the Gemara explains that they had to have 8 people carrying one cluster of grapes. For us, it's this small, whatever it is, however big it is. For them, 8 people on their shoulders had to carry one thing of grapes. And plus they brought back a watermelon and also figs. One person carried a fig, one person carried not a watermelon, a pomegranate. And they said, but the people, right away, they said, what Hashem says is true. But the people that dwells in the land is powerful. The cities are fortified and very great. And we also saw there the offspring of the giant. Amalek dwells in the area of the south. The Hittite, the Jebusite, the Amorite dwell on the mountain. And the Canaanite dwells by the sea, in the bank of the Jordan. Automatically he starts saying, listen, people over there, they actually said, they continue. We cannot ascend. For the people over there, for the people, to that people, for it is too strong for us. They brought forth the children of Israel a bad report of the land, saying that they have spied out, saying that the land through which we had passed to spy out is a land that devours its inhabitants. All the people over there we saw were huge. There we saw Nephilim. We already spoke about the Nephilim in Sefer Bereshit, At the time of Noach, there was Nephilim, giants. The sons of the giants from among the Nephilim, we were like grasshoppers in their eyes. And so we were in their eyes. We were grasshoppers in our eyes, and so we were in their eyes. Meaning that we were so small, we were much like grasshoppers. So they start saying a lot of these things. So they start saying the land eats up the people that lives there. It's like quicksand or something. It just it's like Korach, how it just swallowed him. They start saying the people over there are huge. We're never going to be able to conquer them. We're never going to be able to do anything. So in the end, what honestly, what do we have against them? What's the thing? What's the problem? And Moshe told them, go check these things out. In the end, they came back. They said what they saw. The Gemara already explains this in Masechet Sotah, page 34. Goes from 34 and a little bit more. And it speaks about how already in the beginning they already had in mind to be able to put bad name on the land. It says, the spies only intended to shame the land of Israel, or the land of Canaan as it was known back in the day. Why? Because it says, as it is written, ויחפרו לנו את הארץ, and they will spy out the land for us. And it's written over there, somewhere else. And there it says the moon will be abashed, which is the same word. It says v'chafra, same word as spy out. V'yechafru, same words. Over here it's speaking about spy out. Over here it's saying that it's like to shame, and the sun ashamed, meaning it's the same word as ashamed. So they came to spy out. What do you mean spy out? I want to shame the land, basically saying. They came specifically because they wanted to put a bad name on the land of Israel. So, but still, okay, fine. You want to do one thing, but in the end, Moshe told them to do it. Moshe told them to do it. You have a mitzvah, Torah. In the end, you do it. Okay, you have ulterior motives. In the end, something that's not for the sake, comes for the sake. So now what's the problem? Moshe said to do them. So comes Ravi again and says, what was their problem? HaShem tells them, I'm going to send you to a land that's the best land ever. Land is flowing with milk and honey. Meaning, it's not just flowing with milk and honey. It means it's like, it's flowing with, it's just so prosperous a land, so abundant, that it's beyond your imagination. It's an amazing land. Hashem tells you it's the best land I'm sending you to. And what's the problem? They're going, and they're not believing in whatever Hashem said. They're not going believing what Hashem said. So they go over to Moshe. The Chachamim explained that the spies, they were worried. They said, listen, if we go and we say the land is good, what are we going to do? Whenever we're going to go to the land, they're going to have a new election, and we're going to get voted off. We're going to lose our jobs. So let's say that it's not such a good land. We'll stay inside the desert for however long, and we'll live over here. We'll be, for at least our lives, we're going to be very high in the government. Because they were scared. They didn't want to go inside the land. They were going to lose their job. So Hashem understood that their intentions were not good. The intentions already in the beginning were not good. But what does it say? It says, basically, it says in Sefer Devarim. It says in Sefer Devarim, or the book of Deuteronomy, is, so to speak, it repeats a lot of the things that happen in the other 4 books of the Torah. So in Sefer Devarim 1:22, it says like this. All of you approached me and said, let us send men ahead of us, and let them spy out in the land for us, and bring word back to us, the road on which we should ascend, and the cities to which we should come. And the next verse says, and the idea was good in my eyes. So I took 12 men, one for each tribe. So Moshe says, it sounds good, sounds like a good idea. But the Gemara explains that it was good in Moshe's eyes. What is Hashem trying to say over here? It wasn't good in Hashem's eyes. It was good in Moshe's eyes, not good in Hashem's eyes. The same Gemara that we spoke about before. Daf 34. Lama Daled. So why is it good in Moshe's eyes but not good in Hashem's eyes? Hashem knows the depth of a person's heart. He understood that what the people that want to send the spies, they weren't such pure heart. He understood what they actually wanted to go for. Moshe, he was looking, and he was like, Behemet, I can't find any small bias, any nigiyut over here that I should send, I shouldn't send. It sounds like a good idea. Fine, we'll send. But the problem is, that's the problem with sin. That's the problem with tainting something that could be holy. You could taint something with such a small little sin that even the Gedol Ado, the big Talmid Chacham, cannot even tell. But Hashem knows exactly what that small little thing is. So Moshe couldn't understand. He couldn't see that small nigiyut, that small bias that they had. So he said, it sounds like a good idea. Let's send it. We have to do hishtadlut. So he sent. So the thing is, Rabbi again explains, he says, so why did they get punished? Again, we have to ask the question, why did they get punished? Because sometimes we know something's not allowed. We know. But what do? We ask the Rav. We say like this, like that, some way that, we could trick him into saying, it's allowed. Or even not trick him, just saying it's allowed. Because he knows certain case. He says, I wait that it's allowed. But in your heart, it's not so clean. It's not so there. So, the Rav says it's okay. But that it's deep down, it's not so clean. That's the reason that they were punished. Even if the Rav says it's allowed. But you know for yourself. What I'm doing is not clean. What I'm not doing is not good. The Rav is not going to be punished for it. You're going to be punished for it. The Rav, he went with his Daat Torah and he says, this is clean. This, I understand, you do it this way. But he doesn't know your dirty ulterior motives. Your dirty way of thinking that you want to do something, but it's not the way that the Rav understood it. So, you will be punished, the Rav will not. So Moshe was not punished, but the Meraglim was punished with a very, very, very bad sickness that we're going to get to soon. So we see over here that sometimes whenever the Rav says that it's mutar, does not automatically mean that you should jump to do it. Say, what, the Rav says I can do it. You have to ask yourself, is this clean or is this dirty? And we actually even see with Kalev understood. He says, this is not clean. This I cannot do it. Even though the Rav says I could do it, I have to check. I have to, you know what, I'll do it. But what did Kalev do? Kalev said, you know what, I cannot go with the Rishayim, with the wicked people. As it says, לא תלך לרבים להטות. Don't go according to the wicked by majority. So he went. What did he do? He went to Hebron. Over here it says, in chapter 13, verse 22, it says, they ascended in the south, and he arrived at Hebron, where there was Ahiman, Shishai, Talmai, the offspring of the giant. Now, question is, if they ascended, why does it say he arrived at Hebron? Who's he? I thought it was them. Hamim explained, who is he? He is Kalev. He is Kalev. Kalev went and said to Hashem, he prayed to Hashem Yitbarach. He says, Hashem Yitbarach, please help me. Please help me that I do not get influenced by these Rishaim that are trying to say bad about the land. Here it says over here, Amar Rava said, I'll read it in English. Why does it say it in a singular form? The singular form teaches that Kalev disassociated himself from the designs of the spies, and went alone to Hebron and prostrated himself at the graves of the patriarchs. He said to them, Avotai, my forefathers, ask for mercy upon me. Please, Hashem, give me mercy, that I be saved from the entanglement of the designs of the spies. Don't get me involved in what they're doing. I know it's not clean. I know what they're doing is not good. So please help me. That's why we could see even Kalev got Hebron whenever they went into the land of Israel. So Kalev understood it wasn't clean and he got out. So we also see that whenever it says, whenever the spies came back and said, we were so small to these giants were huge. It says in the Gemara how Moshe, he was 10 amot tall. Certain measurement. He was 10 amot tall, his staff was 10 amot, and his jump was 10 amot. So one time whenever he was jumping, he jumped to hit Og Melech Bashan, the king of Bashan. He jumped to hit him, and the Gemara explains how he jumped, and he hit with his staff, and his staff was only able to hit the ankle of Og Melech Bashan. That shows how big Og is. Og was one of the giants, and it shows how big Og was. Moshe was huge, was very tall. And we would say about let's say 15 feet. If you say 10 amot, 15, you could say 20 also. So meaning that he was 10, his staff was 10, and his jump was 10. So you reached almost 60, probably 60 feet at the most, or if it was 15, then it was 45. But in the end he jumped very high, and he only hit the ankle of Og. So it shows how big the giants were. So over here it says we were, in the eyes of the giants, we were like grasshoppers. We were so small that it's impossible we could win this war. I heard, I don't remember from who, I'm sorry, that basically the question is over here. Whenever anybody's trying to do anything publicly or whatever it is, sometimes they don't have the confidence. Sometimes they say, who am I? What am I going to do? Okay, they say, go give a shiur, Give us something on Shabbat. Give a small Dvar Torah for 3 minutes, 2 minutes, whatever it is, 1 minute. Something small, some type of chidush. Say, no, I can't do it. Why? I don't know anything. I don't know. He knows more than me. Get to take him. Hashem says, it's in your mouth, it's in your heart to do it. Just take it out. Just say, just try, just do whatever you can. What do we feel like? We feel like small little grasshoppers. We feel like we're nothing. We don't have the confidence. So I heard one of the punishments. What's one of the reasons why they were punished? Why the Melachim were punished? Because they said that we were grasshoppers in their eyes. The question is, what do you care about what's in their eyes? You do what you have to do. Hashem said to take the land. Who cares what you look in people's eyes? Hashem says, learn Torah, teach Torah, do Torah. What does it make a difference what you look like? Why do you care what someone else looks at you as? Even if you're grasshopper, yes, you have to be humble. I'm not saying you don't have to be humble. You have to be humble. You have to put yourself down. David HaMelech says, Ani tolat v'lo ish. I'm a worm and not a man. But whenever it comes to, now we have to do mitzvot. That's something that we, without God, we're nothing. But we have God. Now what? Now we have God. Now have confidence in yourself. You can do it. Don't care what people think about you. People don't like you. People like you. You're doing what God says. You're doing what the Torah says. You're teaching what the Torah says. Teach. Do. Continue. You're going al pi Daat Torah. You're going according to the mind of the Torah, to the understanding of the Torah. Continue. You could have haters. You could have lovers. You could have people trying to attack you. People saying, who do you think you are? Who you this? Doesn't make a difference. I'm teaching Torah. I'm doing Torah. You don't have to like me. You can look at me like I'm a grasshopper, like I'm nothing. Step on me. What does it make a difference? I'm doing whatever Hashem says. That's the ikal. So Hashem says, I don't like how you say that you're a grasshopper. That not only grasshopper as meaning towards God. According to the me comparison to God, I'm nothing. You're saying with God's help, and the Gemara even explains that it's not even them. They were talking about God is nothing. Instead of mimenu, instead of us, we said mimenu, from him. From who? From God. God is not power enough to take them. So it says, even with the power of God, you don't think you could take them? Hashem says you could do it. You can't do it? Hashem doesn't like it. Hashem says you're worth it, and you're saying I'm not. There's also in Masechet Sotah 35a, it continues and it actually says that, as we said before, how did we explain how the Meraglim explained the land? What did they say? It flows with milk and honey, and this is the fruit. It's big fruit, looks like you look at huge fruit. You look at a nice, beautiful fruit, you're like, wow, I want to go to this land, I want to check it out, I want to live there. You know how amazing it is to have big fruit? It shows how you can grow things over there. It shows what great land there is over there. So what do they say? They say the truth. They say what Hashem said. Hashem says this. But what's the problem? They go next and they start saying such bad things about the land. So the Gemara explains, and it says, it says, Rabbi Yochanan says, Mishum Rabbi Meir, in the name of Rabbi Meir, which means Rabbi Meir says, כל לשון הרע שאין בו דבר אמת בתחילתו, אין מתקיים בסופו. Any type of lashon hara, meaning any type of bad speech that you're going to say, it could be any type of lie even. Lashon hara is usually lie, it's not true. Which has nothing, as we see over here, which has nothing of truth at its beginning, it will not be established in the end. Meaning you have some type of thing that you want to say, you have some type of thing that's not true, some type of lashon hara or some type of anything that you want to say that's shekel, that's a lie, you have to put a little bit of truth for it to actually stand. As there is a saying, that even in Mashiach Shabbat 104a, it says, Sheker en lo raglaim. Lie, a lie has no legs. How do we see this? Because the word shekel, if you look at it, shin comes to a point in the bottom, kuf, there is one long line in the bottom, and the resh, a resh comes down to one point. Now, comes down to one point. So shekel itself has no leg. It only has one leg. It only stands on one leg. Meaning, if someone only stands on one leg, if he doesn't move, he's just gonna fall. So the lie eventually falls since it only stands on one leg. But emet, the word emet, which is truth, it always has two legs on each letter. Emet has Aleph, Mem, and Tav. Aleph has two legs on the bottom, Mem has a leg and a small base, and the Tav also has a leg and also has a small base and a leg. So the truth stands. So the only way to make the shekel, to make a lie stand for a while, to actually have it be established, be there, is to have a little bit of truth to it. As we could see over here, why did Am Yisrael believe the Meraglim? Why did Am Yisrael believe the spies? Because they said a little bit of truth in it. They said, it's true what Hashem said, but Hashem kept a little bit of truth, chas v'shalom, from us. He only said the good about it, but he didn't say the bad about it. So they said that flows with milk and honey, but they added a lot of their other things that were not true. We could see this also with things of nowadays. What's an example of this? Christianity. Christianity, why did it last for so long? Why is it still around? Why is it still here? Why is Islam very big? People believe in it. Why? Because unfortunately Christianity is not 100% false. What do you mean by that? What do I mean by that? I don't mean Christianity in itself is complete fake. It's falsehood, it's nothing to it. But they're basing it on something that is true. What are they basing it on? The Old Testament that they totally disregard. The Old Testament, as we know, as the Torah, that is true. But they totally disregard it. They say it doesn't matter anymore. Now we have New Testament. The New Testament, it's the false testament. The truth that they have to make their lie, they make their garbage stand, is the Old Testament. It's the truth. They have to put a little bit of truth inside for the falsehood to stand. What's an example of? There's also another connection to how the falsehood of Christianity over here in this week's parsha. As we said, Kalev ben Yefuneh went to Hebron. Where did he go in Hebron? He went to Ma'arat HaMachpelah, the cave of our four parents, however you say it. And over there he prayed. But we know, every Jew, even nowadays, you could go and check. Ma'arat HaMachpelah is in Hebron. But in the Christian New Testament, their Bible, what do they say? Where do they say that Ma'arat Machpelah is? The cave of the forefathers? They say it's in Nablus. They say it's in Shechem. This is one thing that Rav Mizrahi, in his debate, you guys see, it's a very good debate, that he had debate with the Christian professor. This is one thing that he said. This is one thing that he asked. He says, how can you explain this? Christians can't explain this right now. it's such a clear mistake in the Torah. Such a clear mistake in their New Testament. They can't explain. They believe in the Old Testament. They believe in the New Testament, but there's a contradiction. We all say Muslim, Christian, and Jews. Actually, Jews, Muslim, Christian. Let's say, put the Jews first. We all say that the Old Testament, that the Torah is correct. All of us. But they say, no, that's no longer applicable. We have our new thing, we have our own thing. Either the Quran or the New Testament. But there are differences. You have mistakes. Also, in the end of Bereshit, you have that it says 70 people. In the New Testament, it says 75 people. Where do you get 5? God forgot, maybe. I don't know. Their God. There's a lot of mistakes in the Christian Bible, the Christian New Testament. Baruch HaShem, we know the truth. We strive to teach and learn the truth. Going on. So, why was So it goes on to say that Am Yisrael started crying. They believed in this false testament that the spies brought back. They were crying, they were screaming. They couldn't believe how they thought God took them out of Egypt to kill them. And HaShem says, He says, I'm not happy with this. Why? You actually believe them over me? You believe these spies over me? Especially that they had a debate between Caleb and Yehoshua. Yehoshua was screaming, no, they're lying, they're not true, it was a fine land, everything was good. Especially HaShem did such miracles that He made a lot of the giants die at that moment in order for the giants to be focused on the funerals instead of focused on them, on the spies. Caleb and Yoshua understood this, but the other ones, they couldn't care less. They had a certain mission that they wanted to put a bad name on the land of Israel. So they believed, Am Yisrael believed them, unfortunately. So Hashem says, He says that since you cried on a day, that didn't mean anything. Everything was fine. I told you something was going to be fine and you didn't listen to me. And you cried. You still cried for no reason. You cried for free. You cried for no reason at all. So what am I going to do to you? What am I going to do for you? I'm going to give you a reason to cry. The day that the Meraglim gave their story, gave their falsehood, was on Tisha B'Av, was on the 9th of Av. And since Am Yisrael was crying, Hashem says, you're crying for a cry for no reason, I'm going to give you a reason to cry. So on this day, many problems happened. The first Beit HaMikdash was destroyed. The second Beit HaMikdash was destroyed. And now, every single year on Tisha B'Av, we fast and we cry for the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash. We cry. We don't say Uba L'Tzion. We don't eat. We don't even say hi. We sit on the floor. The morning period of that day. Hashem says, you cried for no reason, I'll give you a reason to cry. This happens. It's not only Israel. It's not only one thing that we did and we have a day now to cry. Hashem is saying to us specifically, to each individual, you cry for no reason, I'm going to give you a reason to cry. Don't cry for no reason. Don't just cry for something small, something worthless, something meaningless. Because Chas v'Shalom, Hashem says that He's going to give you reason to cry. God forbid He could take someone's kid away. God forbid He could give someone sickness. We have to stop crying for things that don't actually make any difference. Hashem is saying, I don't like you crying. And we could pray. We could say to Hashem, please help me with this, help me with this. But they just cry, they just complain, they just everything. Hashem doesn't like it. We even saw with last week's Parasha how Hashem didn't like the complainers. People complaining. Hashem didn't like it. So Hashem says to Moshe, He says, listen, I already have enough with these people. Why? Why do they always have to test me 10 times? Test me 10 times ever since they leave Israel. Ever since they left Mitzrayim. 10 times they already tested me. 10 times. I gave them a test, they failed. They tested me all the time. So Hashem says, forget them, I'll make a nation from you. Make a nation from you. So what is Hashem saying? Hashem is saying, all these false speakers, Caleb ben Yefuneh and Yoshua bin Nun, I love them. Why? They said the truth. They said the emet. You want to spread the line? Say the truth. But these false speakers that said garbage, that's not the truth. It's not what I said. You believing them? It's not only Hashem says, I'll destroy them. Hashem said, I'll destroy the people that believed in them also. All the ones that believed him, all the ones that cried from age 20 to 60, all died in the desert. They didn't make it to the land of Israel, except for Caleb and Yoshua. But Hashem says, I will punish every single one for believing them. Why? Why are you believing these people? Why are you believing them? So this is also a thing with us, with our days, nowadays. Whenever someone's speaking something that someone did, that Hashem did not say, that the Torah does not say, Torah says one thing, and you're saying another thing. You're saying something that's complete kfirah. Someone's saying something that's complete kfirah, something the complete heresy, and you're believing them. Look in the Torah; it does not say this. It does not say what they're saying. Whenever it says you're supposed to keep the mitzvot, if not, you're going to get punished. If you keep the mitzvot, you're going to get rewarded handsomely. You have to keep Shabbat. You have to keep Torah mitzvot. You have to keep kosher. And if not, you're going to be punished severely for it. So this is all the type of people that speak, and they twist the words of the Torah. Whenever it says in the Gemara, whenever someone does this, that he doesn't have a share in the world to come. Whenever Rashit Chochmah, Hashem HaShem, says these type of things about what happens in Gehenom to people that do certain sins, that what happens to people in hell, how some people don't have Olam Haba, some people don't leave Gehenom, and people just totally throw it away, throw the Gemara away, throw the words of Hashem away, and they say, no, Hashem loves everybody. Yeah, Habib, do you know that Hashem says in Malachi 1:3, chapter 1, verse 3, it says, Ve'et Esav senet, I hated Esav. What, Hashem hates? Chas v'shalom. No, Hashem hates. Hashem says, I hated him. Hashem hates, says, I hate him. Also in the Gemara, there's examples of who Hashem hates. Hashem doesn't like people sometimes. Meaning that He wants us to come back to Him. He wants us to have a connection with Him. He loves us as a father, like, I want Him to come back to me. But He keeps on going against me. How can I love Him at this moment? Hashem wants us to come back. But after a while, we start angering Him so much. For the individual, he doesn't even want to see the person anymore. So whenever you have these type of speakers, unfortunately, it's very, very unfortunate. It's very unfortunate. But we even saw this even with Erev Rav last week. And even with the tzaddikim. Again, we say these are anashim, these were Gdolei Ador, these were Rabbanim. But still, they stooped down to a level, such a low level, that they were kofel b'Hashem. The Gemara even says that whenever the pasuk says that they wanted to throw rocks at Yoshua and Kalev, it actually says that they wanted to throw it at God, not only at Kalev and Yoshua. So Moshe says to Hashem, he says, no, please. He says, right away, first of all, Moshe says to him, he says, listen, if you kill the nation, what are the people going to say? What is Egypt going to say? Everybody heard that Yam Suf happened, as we even see with Rachav. She explained that everybody heard, some people even saw, because the wall went up so high, people saw the water split in everybody's cup even. So everybody knew that it happened. But what are people going to say now? You were about to bring them into the land, and then right before you bring them to the land, you kill everybody? What are they going to say? You see, God couldn't do it this whole time. God just was playing bluff. He was just bringing them to the land. He did all these miracles. Very big God. But in the end, he couldn't do this. He couldn't conquer the land. So he's limited. Hashem is saying, if you kill them, it's going to be Chilul Hashem. It's going to be a desecration of your name. And also, it says, Moshe starts pleading with Hashem and says, show the mercy, how you have said, how you have spoken. Now the question is, what does it mean how you have spoken? When did he speak? When did he even say this? So Moshe, one time, the Gemara explains how Moshe, in Masechet Sanhedrin 111a, explains how Moshe one time went to Shamayim, and it shows that Hashem says, Kel Rachum Echanun, and which means that Hashem is the God of mercy. So Moshe automatically says, okay, you're merciful to the righteous. Hashem says, no, I'm also merciful to the wicked. I wait for the wicked to do teshuva. Moshe says, what? Let the wicked die. Let them be destroyed. Who cares about the wicked? They go against you? Let them die. Who gives them the right to go against you and still live and still have a chance? Hashem says, no. Even for the Rishaim, I still give them a chance. I still give them an opportunity. I want you to come back to me. Hashem doesn't want it. Even he says it in the Tanakh. He says it specifically. He says, I don't wish for the death of the righteous. Rather, I wish for them to come back to me, for them to do teshuva. Someone could do mamash the worst averot. You do teshuva, Hashem will take you back. So Moshe says, why? They're going against you. Destroy them. Hashem is saying, no. In this life, I want them the last second do teshuva as soon as possible. So Moshe didn't understand. He says, I don't know, I don't get it. I'm sorry. Hashem says, soon enough you'll get it. Soon enough you're going to need this exact saying that I'm saying. So it says over here, Moshe, finally this time came, and Moshe told Hashem, he says, wait a second. You said that even to the wicked you're patient, you're merciful. Give them a chance. And he says, Hashem erech apayim ve'av chesed נושא עוון ופשע ונקה לא ינקה פוקד עוון אבות על בנים על שלישים ועל רביעים. Hashem, this is in chapter 14 verse 18, Hashem, slow to anger, abundant in kindness, forgiver of iniquity and willful sin, and who cleanses, does not cleanse completely, recalling the iniquity of parents upon children to the third and fourth generations. So Moshe calls back on this. He says, "You told me before that even to the wicked you're patient, you're kind, you're merciful." So Hashem says, "You know what? You're right." He says, "I'll give them time." So Baruch Hashem, Hashem kept Am Yisrael alive. Not only through Moshe did we come from, but the rest of Am Yisrael. So Hashem is saying that even though I forgave them, even though I forgave Am Yisrael, I'm not going to destroy the whole Am Yisrael. The ones that believe, they have to die. They cannot come into Eretz Yisrael. First of all, one second, I'm sorry. The ones that actually, the meraglim, the spies, Hashem destroyed them on the spot. Hashem said, as it says over here in verse 37, 14:37, it says, the people who spread the evil report about the land died in a plague. Now the Chachamim explain, what does it say? What does it say? Ba magifa. If it's a plague, it's supposed to say bin magifa. It shows that it's a specific type of plague. So they say there's two opinions in the Gemara. One says that the very gruesome punishment, that their tongues extended down to their navel, their belly button, and there was worms, maggots that came out and started traveling from their navel to their tongue, to their mouth, to their tongues. Which actually we can even see a measure for measure over here. Same way that you use your tongue for something that's improper, you used it in a way that's not meant to be used. And what's with the thing with the navel? Because that's the place where you're born. You shouldn't even have been born. This type of thing. So that's the first opinion. Another opinion was that they died from askara. Askara is a certain sickness, a certain disease that it, so to speak, swells the lungs, swells the throat, and makes it as if you're suffocating inside. Which also is a middot keneged middot, because they sinned with their throats, they sinned with their mouth, and their mouth gets closed. Everything that Hashem does is middot keneged middot, measure for measure. So Hashem says, but for the people that believed, they cannot enter that land. They still have to get punished. They could still do teshuva. They still could do teshuva, but they're not going to enter the land. That's one punishment that I have to give them. But for Kalev and Yoshua, even though they fall into this group, they are still going into the land. I still give them the permission to go to the land. Why? Okay, fine, but they're not part of the meraglim that died instantly. But why did they get to go into the land? The answer is that we have a mitzvah in the Torah. You have to rebuke your people. In the common sense, it's to rebuke them to make them do better. But there's also a way that even if it's just to stand up for the emet of the Torah, the truth of the Torah, what you're saying is the lie, it's not true. Just for that, Hashem saying, you stood up for the truth, you stood up for what I said. Just for that, I'm bringing you to the land. I'm going to reward you. You're yotzeh min haklal. You're an exception to the rule that I just made, that the people have to die. You're an exception to it. So this shows that whenever Hashem says, you must rebuke your fellow, the chet is not going to come upon you, the sin is not going to come upon you, you will be rewarded. Don't ever think that if you do whatever Hashem says, you're going to be punished. You're going to lose out if you do what Hashem says. So then we actually have Bnei Israel. They cry and they say, okay, you know what, Hashem just killed them, so it shows that they were not true. So we might think, okay, they did teshuva. Bnei Israel did teshuva. They didn't die like the Meraglim. They have time. But it goes on to explain in verse 40 that there was a group of people that still wanted to do it. They still wanted to go to Israel and conquer the land. Moshe tells them, excuse me, HaShem just said you have 40 years left. You have 39 years until you can get into the land of Israel. You have a decree of you cannot get into the land for 40 years. Why you right now think that Hashem just took it away from you? You still think that you could do it? They say, no, God is with us. We could go get it. We could go do it. Moshe says, no, Hashem is not with you. You will die. You will fall before the sword because you're turned away from Hashem. Meaning they did teshuva, they did half teshuva. They didn't really do teshuva. They did teshuva just to show. But they still think that they could go over God. They could still go over the word of the Chachamim. What happens? They went and they died. They all died. So now it goes into the libations, and it goes into the mitzvah of challah. What's the mitzvah of challah? Challah. Many people, you ask them, you know what challah is? They're gonna say, yeah, the braided bread. No, it's not braided bread. What is it? Bread. It's not even bread. It's any type of whenever you have a certain flour or a certain dough. You're supposed to take the small part of the dough and give it to the Kohen, so the Kohen could have it. Nowadays we don't give it to the Kohen, instead we burn it because first of all we're not sure who exactly, if they're actually really Kohanim. Even if we are sure, we still don't, because they're tameh. Nowadays we don't have the red heifer, so we don't give it to them, instead we burn it. So you take a small piece, whenever you're making dough for bread or for whatever it is, you take a small piece of the dough. Nowadays you take a small piece, you just take it and you burn it. You say Areizu Challah and you take it and you burn it. This is the mitzvah of Challah. And then it speaks about if someone does avodah zarah, if the whole nation of Israel actually accidentally does some type of avodah zarah, and it explains a bit of what to do, how to get forgiven for it. Then it speaks about what if one person does avodah zarah unintentionally. It says he should bring a she-goat in its first year, meaning a female goat in the first year. And he's going to get forgiven. And then what if it says, what if this individual does avodah zarah openly? He does it intentionally. He wants to do it. What's the deen with him? What's the law with him? So it says over here, it says a person who shall act high-handedly, whether native or a proselyte, meaning if he was born a Jew or if he converted, he blasphemed Hashem. For this, first of all, we learn, someone does avodah zarah, even if he does all the other mitzvot, it's considered worthless. Why? Because he's saying, I don't believe in God. I believe in this other. I believe in Yoshka. I believe in JC. I believe in something else as well. Even not only, also, it's worthless. Because it says, he blasphemed Hashem. It's as if he denies the whole Torah. This is the sforno. And what does it say? That person shall be cut off from his people, meaning it's karet. V'nichreta hanefesh v'ahi mikei rameh. This person says that he has no olam haba. He has karet. Karet is a spiritual excision, meaning he gets cut off from the world to come. And also, he could die young, his kids could die because of it. Why does it say? Next pasuk, it says, "For he scorned the word of HaShem and broke his commandments. That person shall be cut off, his sin is upon him." Now, first of all, what does it say? It says over here, "Hikaret tikaret hanefesh ahi avona va." The Ramban explains, what does it say, Hikaret tikaret? Meaning, Hikaret olam hazeh, meaning he dies young. Tikaret olam haba, no olam haba. Now, the question is, the Chachamim explain, why does it say avona ba? Rashi explains, what does it mean avona ba? It's only whenever the sin is upon him. When is the sin still upon someone? Whenever he didn't do teshuva. Whenever someone does teshuva, like I said before, teshuva can clean any avera. You do teshuva, true, pure teshuva, how it says in the Ramban. In the Rambam, Hilchot Teshuva, chapter 2. Or the whole chapter, the whole Hilchot Teshuva. Learn it. Know how to do teshuva. Also learn Sha'arei Teshuva, Rabbeinu Yonah. So whenever someone does teshuva, the avon is not on him anymore. So he's clear from this. He doesn't have karet anymore. This is, and he has olam haba now. But whenever he still has the sin of avodah zara on him, intentional avodah zara, intentional idol worship, whether it can be Buddha, JC, or anything else, even it can be yourself. Someone thinks that he's God, like Paro. It's also idol worship. The interesting thing is, we could always see, usually almost always, you could always see whenever it speaks about Shabbat, it speaks about avodah zara. It speaks about idol worship almost always right next to Shabbat. And the next part speaks about Shabbat. First of all, to say that whenever someone breaks Shabbat, it's equivalent to doing avodah zara. Halakha also like that. Someone does avodah zara, he is considered putting himself outside of the Jewish nation. Meaning, according to, even though he is still a Jew, and he can do teshuva instantly, doesn't have to convert. In all halakhic standpoints, he's considered to have forfeited his Judaism for the benefits of Jewish people. He will still get rewarded and judged like a Jew. However, he gets all type of he forfeits his rights of being a Jew. So we have over here the first public Shabbat desecrator. I'll read it over here. It says, the children of Israel were in the wilderness. This is chapter 15, verse 32. The children of Israel were in the wilderness, and they found a man gathering wood on the Shabbat day, which gathering wood is in Isur D'Oraita. Because why? First of all, there's a machloket of what exactly was he. There's an argument of what exactly he was chayavin. What exactly did he do that was wrong on Shabbat that you're not supposed to do? As we know, we have 39 melachot that we're not allowed to do, 39 categories of things that are prohibited on Shabbat. One opinion says that he did the melacha of me'amel. The melacha of me'amel is gathering. You cannot gather things together. To know specifically of what you can and can't gather, learn the halachot. Another one says that he did hotza'ah. What's hotza'ah? Hotza'ah is carrying in a public place. In public domain, you cannot carry for more than 4 amot, about 6 feet. And he carried. The other one says that he actually broke the branches off the tree, that's kotzel. That's kotzel. That's also another melacha. So these are all 3 melachot that whichever one he did. It could be all 3 of them. but there's different opinions of which one he did. This is Masechet Shabbat 96b and also 73b. So what does it say over here? Those who found him gathering wood brought him to Moshe and Aaron and to the entire assembly. First of all, we see how does someone get obligated, get chayav of death penalty? How does he get a death penalty in the court of Jewish law, in the Bet Din? Someone has to see him. First of all, two people have to see him. Then whenever the two people see him, they have to give him a warning, formal warning. Don't do this because you're doing an avera of whatever the avera is. And then after he says, listen, I don't care, I'm doing it, or even if he just does it again, he hears it and he still does it, then they go and they take him to the Bet Din. So what does it say over here? It says it in the first. It says in verse 32, they saw him gathering wood. There was a man gathering wood. And then they saw in verse 33, man gathering wood. Why say it again? To say that he had the thing, the double, he did it once. They told him, he did it again. Then they took him. They placed him in custody for it not clarified what should be done with him. Meaning that we knew that Mechalel Shabbat must get death penalty. But we didn't know exactly which one. So the next verse 35, Hashem said to Moshe, the man shall be put to death. The entire assembly shall pelt him with stones outside the camp. The entire assembly, next verse, the entire assembly removed him to the outside of the camp. They pelted him with stones and he died, as Hashem had commanded Moshe. So first of all, we see when was this? When was this? When did they get the Torah and when did this happen? The Chachamim explain that we got the Torah 2 weeks before this happened. The question is, we just got it 2 weeks ago. Miskin, okay, he was gathering wood. He didn't know it was a sur. Automatically you kill him. You don't say, you know what, give him a few weeks, let him learn a little bit, let him learn Halachot Shabbat, take Yalkut Yosef, take Mishnah Berurah, learn, and then maybe whenever, he's a fresh Baal Teshuva, he just did what is Hashem saying? It's absolutely not. I don't care. It doesn't make a difference. You know that you're not supposed to do something. People are coming to you and telling you you're not supposed to do something, and you're still continuing. Hashem is saying, no. There's no, I'll give you a few weeks. Maybe a leeway, you're the first one, so I'll let it go. Hashem is saying, you should have known. You should have done it, you should have learned. Doesn't make a difference, second week, first one, doesn't make a difference. Pelt him, he should be put to death. Pelt him with stones. Meaning, give the harshest death penalty of the Bet Din, of the 4 death penalties. Stoning. Give him the harshest one. Even the first guy, the harshest one, doesn't make a difference. This is also how we have to understand. If someone is a fresh Baal Teshuva, yes, okay, fine. Hashem looks at him like he's a little kid, like he's fresh. But there's still something. You're still supposed to have a little chiyuv. He's still obligated. You're supposed to tell him, listen, I'm sorry, we're gonna learn together this, that, but you're not allowed to do this on Shabbat. He can't say, listen, I'm fresh, I'm not doing that yet. I still need time. Hashem is saying, okay, fine, you're fresh, but I don't want you to do this. Would someone say, in their right mind, I used to kill people, so you know what, now I'll kill a little bit less. God should be happy with me. I'm killing less. No. Stop killing. Stop it. You're still a murderer. You're still a mechalel Shabbat. You didn't do teshuva. You're still breaking Shabbat. You're still doing whatever Hashem. You're still eating the pork. You still have it in your teeth. What's with this? Stop it. It's difficult. Are you even trying? So, the person has to know. The person has to learn. The person has to grow. Always grow. Not necessarily, okay, fine. It's not necessarily that the person's going to know all Halachot Shabbat in the first week. But if someone comes over to him and says, listen, you can't do this on Shabbat. He says, oh, wow, okay, I didn't know. Can you show it to me? Can I learn? Can you teach me? Can something? has mercy. But there's also times whenever HaShem says, whenever I say something, it goes. You have to do what I say. So now, there is a chidush that I said a while ago in one of my Rav Yagin shiurim on Shabbat, the majesty of Shabbat. It's an audio. It's called Tzlofchad and Tzitzit, I believe. It's a very nice thing. First of all, right after the thing of Tzlofchad, I'm sorry, I didn't mention it. The person that was gathering the wood was named Tzlofchad. Rabbi Akiva explains that it is Tzlofchad. Tzlofchad's daughters, in a couple of weeks, we're going to see, in many weeks coming up, we're going to see that Tzlofchad did not have any sons. So it was Tzlofchad, and he said he died from his own sin. They made a match, they were able to say that this is Tzlofchad. The Chachamim understood that this was Tzlofchad. So, the parasha, the small section of Tzlofchad and Tzitzit, next part of the thing is what we say every single day. We say, ויאמר השם אל משה לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל ואמרת אליהם ועשו להם ציצית על כנפי בגדיהם לדורותם ונתנו עד ציצית הכנף בלתי תכלת, and on and on. It's saying that, speaking about tzitzit, that whenever you have four-corner garment, you have to put on tzitzit on it. You have to put wool strings on it, known as tzitzit. Now, why are these connected? Why are these two connected? Why is the one from Tzlofchad, everything in the Torah is connected? Why is the passage of Tzlofchad, of the wood gatherer, connected with the passage of tzitzit? So, the Chachamim explained that Tzlofchad, why did he gather wood? They said that actually he meant it l'shem shamayim. He meant it for the sake of heaven. Why? Because the first week, he saw that the first week of Shabbat, everybody kept it beautifully. They prepared nicely. They made the food nicely. Everybody did what they were supposed to do at the time that they were supposed to do. So he said, this is amazing, beautiful. This is middot Shabbat. The food, the learning, everything was great. Mamash, Talakha kept perfectly. Second week, he saw that they were a little bit relaxed. A little bit slower, I'll do it in an hour. I'll get ready in an hour. The food that cooked is not so good. The middot is okay, it's whatever, maybe we'll skip this middot this week. We'll skip the songs, the Shabbat songs this week. So Tzlofchad woke up and he said, whoa. He says, HaShem Yarachem, what's going to happen? He says, if this continues, what's going to happen? Shabbat is going to be lost. Because what happens whenever you start something? You start it, but what happened? Every single time you go down, and then you go down, and then you go down, and then nothing. Straight line. So he says, if I let this continue, it's not going to be Shabbat. There's no Shabbat anymore. So he says, I have to make a public statement, public show. He goes out, he gathers the wood. Someone says, hey, you know you're not allowed to gather wood. You're going to be chayav, death penalty. He says, I know. Continues. They say, okay, take you, bet din. Kill him. He says, now this is going to make a public statement. Know that HaShem is serious. Doesn't make a difference 1 week, 2 weeks. HaShem is serious, he's going to kill the person. He died thinking that it's going to make an impression on the Jewish people. Chachamim explained that no, it's not the case. It's not the case at all. And this is whenever Rav Yagin comes in, Rav Nisim Yagin, and he explains that why did he think this? He says, on the weekdays we have tefillin. We have the tefillin to remind us not to do averot. Reminded us to keep mitzvot. Reminded us that there's a God. He said on Shabbat we don't have anything to remind us, so I need to make this public thing. So Hashem says, I'm sorry, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. Why? The way to make people understand Torah, to make people understand how important it is to follow Torah, what do you have to do? Not violate the Torah. You have to do it in a way that they understand that they have to follow Torah. In a way that they understand that Torah is something to follow. So you don't break the Torah to keep more of the Torah. You don't break the Torah, you don't break Shabbat for people to understand how Shabbat is important. Same way like this. There was a story with Arav Elchran Wasserman, the student of the Chafetz Chaim. One time he wanted to fundraise for his yeshiva, and he said, okay, fine, let's do it. They said, listen, if you do this fundraiser, we're gonna have to do a dinner. He says, okay, fine, do the dinner. He says, but there's also gonna be there's a catch. He said, what's the catch? It has to be mixed seating, not mixed dancing, mixed seating. Let them sit together, the men, women. So what does he say? No, we're not doing it. This can make a lot of money for the yeshiva. He says, I don't care. Why? It's because we don't uproot Torah to be Mekayem Torah. We don't break the Torah to make more Torah. It doesn't work like that. We do Torah to make Torah. Unfortunately, a lot of people, whenever they try to make Baalei Teshuvot, they do in a way that's not allowed in order to. Okay, listen, we'll bring the guys, we'll bring the girls, they'll speak, they'll everything, and then we'll teach them Torah. No. Or whatever, we'll bring them to the beach. We'll bring them to it's not a place you bring them. What do you bring them? You bring them to Shiur Torah. You have food, you have things that, whatever, make them come. Have even singing, guitar, whatever it is. But don't have the guys and the girls also singing, the guys also singing, and the guy says, let me get your number. Something like this. This is breaking the Torah to make the Torah. You try to make them do teshuva. You're bringing them. One person you're going to make do teshuva. The other person you're going to make them go even deeper to Gehinnom. Go even deeper to Chas v'Shalom. Have some intermarriage to make goyim in the world and to end his bloodline, to end his Judaism. So the way to make people do teshuva, the way to make more Torah into the world is through Torah. Bring them to a Shiur Torah. Teach them Torah. Teach them straightforward. You have to do this. You have to do this. I understand you. I used to be you. Someone used to be Baal Tshuva. Usually the best kiruv speakers are the Baal Tshuvas. So I understand where you came from. I understand it was hard. I understand I could guide you through all these type of things. But don't break the Torah to bring more Torah to the world. So that's what Hashem is saying over here. That's not the case. That's not the point. What is the point? What will remind people of mitzvot, of to keep Shabbat? The next thing. What does it say? Surahim tzitzit. What does it say? It shall constitute tzitzit for you. In verse 39 it says, it shall constitute tzitzit for you, that you may see it and remember all the commandments of Hashem and perform them. This is again the chidush of Rav Nisimi again. And not implore after your heart and after your eyes, which you stray. You will not go after your eyes. You see a girl, you're going to jump on. No. You know tzitzit. It's going to remind you. This is all the mitzvot. How is tzitzit? This chidush I heard. The tzitzit has 8 strings in each corner. And in it has, in each string, in each set of 8 strings has 5 knots. The word tzitzit, the gematria, the numerical value of the word tzitzit is 600. And the 8 strings plus the 5 knots equals 13. So within the word tzitzit, you have the 613 mitzvot. So Hashem says, you look at the tzitzit, you will get reminded of Torah. Tzitzit, we wear on Shabbat. We have the talit, we have it. We're on Shabbat. It's going to remind us. Making the Torah, following the Torah, will remind us of Torah, will make the Torah more in the world. Not violating Shabbat to show how important, not violating mitzvah to show how important mitzvot is. So, I'll have one more very, very nice chidush from Arav Ovadia Yosef Zecher Tzadik Levracha V'Kadosh Levracha. This I actually heard from Arav Yaron Ruven Sheikhye. First of all, I'll start with a nice story. Arav Nisim again, Arav Ovadia Yosef, he had a very, very good memory, very extraordinary memory. Besides the photographic memory that he had, even without the photograph, it's amazing what type of memory he had. At one time, there was this one reporter. This time, for some reason, went public and said no one should listen to Rav Ovadia anymore. He's already old. He probably forgot. He probably, he's old already. He doesn't remember anything. Maybe just give him psak halakha that doesn't actually make sense, make anything. Whatever. Don't listen to him anymore. So Rav Ovadia usually doesn't care about these people, but he says this is a public thing. I have to figure out about it. So he invites this reporter, this journalist, to his house, and he asks him. He says, "What made you think that I forget? I'm old. I'm whatever. I'm not sharp as I used to be. What made you think? Did you hear my shiur? Maybe I got something wrong?" He says, "No, I don't even listen to this shiur. I'm not even religious." So he says, then what made you think that I forgot?" He says, "No, you're old. People get old. They forget. They start losing, their focus and their what they were before. They start losing it. They start losing their memory and all these type of things. So it's just natural." He says, "Okay, fine." So he says, he says, maybe we can make maybe you're right. Maybe you can make some type of test." So he says, "Kvod Harav, what are you getting at over here?" He says, "I don't want to embarrass you further." He says, "No, we'll do a test and we'll see. If you're right, good. If not, then you'll actually have more proof. But if not, then it shows that I'm not." So he says, "What do you want me to do?" He says, "I want you to take one book." Rav Ovadia, he didn't have walls in his house. He only had bookshelves. It was not like a wall like that. It was bookshelves. There was no walls. Even if it was somewhere high, bookshelf, nothing. He says, "Go to any bookshelf. Take one book. Just tell me the person that wrote it, the name of the book, the person that wrote it, which page number, and the first word on the page, and I'll continue the page." So he says, "Kvod Harav, is this some type of joke? What is this?" No. Let's just do it." He says, "I don't want to embarrass you first." No, just do it. Don't worry. So he goes. He starts looking. He sees one thing with cobwebs. He takes it. He says, "This book was definitely not open in like 6 years or something. We'll see." He opens the book. He says the thing, and Rav Ovadia continues the page. He says, maybe it's some type of trick. Maybe an implanted it. Okay, well, try again. Goes another book. Takes another book, and he sees that again. Rav Ovadia gets it. Does it again. He says, "I cannot believe this." Again. He says, "Now I know." He goes, this journalist, first of all, he says, "I'm sorry, Kvod Harav, I didn't know. Very big chacham. You don't forget anything." He goes publicly, and he publicly says, not only was I wrong, but his memory is the greatest ever. It's not a human mind, this type of mind. Even with photographic memory, even with everything, his mind is not human. His mind is holy, it's spiritual, it's like an angel. It never forgets anything, which is rare for a secular journalist. So we see how great his mind was. But the question is, how? You could say with the photographic memory, but we even said it's one thing to have photographic memory, it's another thing to have Rav Ovadia's mind. So there was Rav Ovadia had Tamid Chacham come over to him, and he says, "Kvod Harav, please tell me. I want to know the secret. Let me know, what is your secret of your mind, you remember everything. Someone asks you a question here, this, that, it comes from me, this Gemara, this Tosfot, this Pasuk in the Torah, this Halakha in Shulchan Aruch. How do you know everything?" He says, "I study and I review and I know." He says, "Kvod Harav, I'm sorry, I study and I review also." He says, "I study and review." He's still pushing. And the Rav that was with Rav Ovadia, he says, Kod Rav, we're not Amei Haratzot. We're not ignorant people. We learn, we review, we everything. Tell us how'd you get such a mind? How'd you do it? So he's pushing. Rav Ovadia says, you know what, you really want to know? He says, yeah. He says, you really want to know? He says, yes. Please tell me, please. He says, all goes down to your eyes. He says, you watch your eye. If you watch your eyes do whatever you're supposed to do, you're going to remember. He says, how? What do you mean? He says, it comes from this week's Parsha. This week's Parashat Shelach comes from the thing of tzitzit. What does it say? It says, "Va'aya lechem tzitzit uritem oto zchatem et kol mitzvot HaShem va'azitem otam velo taturu achar levavchem v'achar einechem asher atem zonim achareim." So he's saying that over here, what does it say? It says, it shall constitute tzitzit for you, that you may see it and remember all the commandments of Hashem. But over here, the Hebrew, what does it say? It says, "Uritem oto uschartem et kol mitzvot Hashem." In the simple understanding, it says, you look at it, you look at the tzitzit, you can remember all the mitzvot. But what is Rav Ovadia saying? He says, no, not only that. He says, "Uritem oto." Who's oto? Who's him? Who's it? Hashem. You only look at Hashem. You guard your eyes. You see Hashem is always everywhere you go. You go to the bathroom, He's there. You go to He's there. There's nowhere you could look that He's not going to be there. You're always only looking at God. You're going to look. You're going to understand. He's here. What do you mean? How can I look at this woman? How can I look at this immodesty, something improper, something dirty, something disgusting? How can I look over there? You guard your eyes. Uschaltem et kol mitzvot Hashem. You're going to remember all the mitzvot. You're going to remember everything you learn. So, explain. He says, okay, when did you do this? He says, whenever I was in the Beit Din. Sometimes, you have secular people coming over there. People not religious. And sometimes women would come to him looking for some type of, din, some type of judge, some type of, what should I do? How should I act? What should I do? For like wedding or whatever, givushin, divorce. So whenever they come, it's not proper for me to look. I shouldn't look. They're not dressed properly, so I look down. But I don't want to make them feel bad, chas v'shalom. So I write whatever they're saying. I'm writing down. And people looking, they're like, okay, fine. He's not looking at him, but he's writing down. He's like, wow, he's so committed to them. He's writing down everything he's saying. He's like every single thing. He says, okay, this, that. Okay, you have to do this. So, but then his sons, after he died, explained that their father would come home. Rav Ovadia would come to the sons, would come home, and he said, whoever behaves will get Abba's drawings. And they asked, Abba, when do you ever have time to draw? You're a Rav, you're Dayan, you're a Gdolado, you everything, you're Tamid Chacham, you learn non-stop. When do you have time to draw? So he says, at the Beit Din, whenever the women come, and I can't look at them, I'm not supposed to look at them. So, I already understand what they're saying. I hear what they're saying. So I don't have to write things down. I already know. I understand what they're saying. So at the time, I draw. I don't want to just look down just for them to be disrespected. So I draw. I pretend like I'm writing things down, so that they don't feel offended. So technically, he was the Beit Din. He was the Av Beit Din. You could look, whatever. No one's gonna say. No one's gonna tell him anything. He's gonna say, "Listen, I'm trying to help him. I'm trying to help her." But in the end, he used to draw. He used to guard his eyes for every single thing, for everything that he could. He guarded his eyes. So that's how we all have to understand. In this small little part of tzitzit, it says, "You guard your eyes. You only look at who? You only look at it, at oto. Not only the tzitzit, oto, him. Oto means him also in Hebrew. You look at him, you look at Hashem, you're going to remember all you're learning. Everything you learn, you're going to remember. B'ezrat Hashem, we will be zocheh to remember our Torah learning and to be anywhere close to the tzaddikim, Arav Yagen, Arav Ovadia. B'ezrat Hashem, Baruch Adonai Le'olam, Amen v'Amen.